Have you ever thought about why the U.S. Navy has two types of aircraft carriers at the same time? Many people think that aircraft carriers are big things, such as Nimitz and Ford. But the fact is that there is another type of aircraft that can take off and land in the United States. Their name is not aircraft carriers, but amphibious attack ships. This leads to a problem that confuses many military fans. Since both types of ships can take off and land, why do they have to be divided into completely different systems? What can they do? First of all, the difference between an amphibious attack ship and an amphibious attack ship seems to be different in size. But in fact, the mission is completely different. A Ford-class amphibious attack ship is about 333 meters long, and an LHD-class amphibious attack ship is about 259 meters long. From the numbers, the difference doesn't seem to be that big. Don't underestimate the difference of 70 meters. This means that the volume, the amount of water, the size of the carrier, the endurance, the commanding ability, etc. A whole set of battle systems. The super aircraft carrier is a floating airfield. It can take off and land F-180, EF, Super Big Huangfang, E-2D Eagle Eye Precursor, EA-18G Scorpion, electronic fighter jets, etc. Fixed-wing carriers, they're members of the aircraft carrier, can maintain air control for a long time and counterattack. This makes the aircraft carrier really have the meaning of global delivery of power. Although the two attack ships appear to be smaller aircraft carriers, but the flying deck is more like a stop screen, can only operate vertical short takeoff and landing aircraft. For example, F-35B, AV-8B Key, V-22 Falcon, and helicopter. So their code names are LHD helicopter ships or LHA helicopter attack ships, not a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. At the mission level, the super aircraft carrier serves for global strategic existence, can maintain long-term combat in any area, and the helicopter ship and the helicopter attack ship serve for the U.S. Marine Corps. They can take off and land landers at the same time. Don't forget that their core is the fog cabin. Can carry 3 air-to-air landers at a time, dozens of mechanized landers, or dozens of amphibious assault vehicles. In other words, they are the landing platform for the Marine Corps. Their core mission is to ensure landings and quick landing, instead of long-term control. The key point is the volume. Don't think that the ship body is just a little bit longer or shorter. There's a square and a square law behind it. The longer the ship is, the more volume it has. The amount of water in the sea is much faster than the surface area. So the bigger the ship is, the safer it is in the sea. It can also carry fuel and ammunition that have doubled in size. For example, the super aircraft carrier can hold more than 10 million tons of ammunition, and the two attack ships only have hundreds of thousands of tons. This means that the super aircraft carrier can fight for 2 weeks in a row, and the helicopter components have to be replenished every week. And that's on the premise that there's a limited number of fighters. That's why the super aircraft carrier never goes out alone. It's going to be a carrier strike group with the destroyer, the submarine, and the supply ship. It's not just the attack core, it's the command center of the entire fleet. And the helicopter components are often just a 2-stage combat group of 3. Take the landing troops to carry out limited missions. For example, disaster relief, rapid airstrike, and partial landing. This point-to-point use does not require a huge strike group. It's not going to be a naval general. It's more like a floating naval base. In terms of combat mode, these two aircraft carriers rarely really fight side by side, because their mission positioning is completely different. The super aircraft carrier is in charge of long-term strategic and globalized air and sea advantages, and the LHD is in charge of short-term tactical and regionalized 2-stage strikes. For example, in 2016, when the United States carried out a strike mission in Libya, it was not the super aircraft carrier that was dispatched, but the Huangfeng helicopter components. With a few AV-8Bs and helicopters, the cost of completing the pointed strike is lower, and the effect is just right. It shows that small aircraft carriers can also solve specific problems. This is one of the reasons why the US wants to keep two aircraft carriers at the same time. The big hammer has the use of the big hammer. The small hammer has the flexibility of the small hammer. What's more interesting is that the two-stage attack ships built by the United States in recent years make the boundaries between the two ships more and more blurry. The beautiful ship has a displacement of 450,000 tons. It's bigger than the French-only aircraft carrier Daigro. What's more important is some beautiful ships have been canceled directly. The F-35B has become a Lightning aircraft carrier. This type of ship can indeed take on some of the tasks of the super aircraft carrier, but they can't take off a fixed-point carrier. This means that their combat radius and attitude sensing capabilities are still inferior to the super aircraft carrier, so it can only be supplemented, not replaced. Finally, when it comes to money, many people think that the US aircraft carrier is a money-burning monster. In fact, it's more interesting to compare. A Ford-class super aircraft carrier costs about $130 billion. An annual shipping cost is $1 billion. A helicopter object costs $2 billion. A helicopter attack ship costs up to $3.4 billion. On the surface, it looks cheap, but the function is not at the same level. So the US must catch it by hand. In summary, the reason why the US Navy has two types of aircraft carriers is not waste, but strategic division of labor. This is the real answer to why the US wants to raise two classes.